Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another book rant. Today, I'm going to be discussing this book, Ode, the Scion of Nerikan. This book is by Richard Schweitzer. I really love the cover. I like the style of big character, little character dynamic. And in this case, it was done well. Not so well that I think I would read a continuation, but it was a good book, and I liked it. This cover art is by Patrick Brazier, and this is a copyright 2023 book. Now, it does come with a map. It does have one of the flaws I constantly talk about when I talk about these things, which is I don't like large nation-state maps. If it's fantasy, I don't like just one empire being most of the map. That feels lazy. I feel like it should be a map that shows a lot of nationalities. It shows a lot of countries, states within the map. But another thing this book has, which I do appreciate, is a good dynamic between the big male character and the younger female character. So, the main character of this book is Olen, spelled O-L-E-N, and she is a young girl with magic. She is a preteen, and what I appreciate about this is, so she's an orphan, and that's a common backstory you see in a lot of these stories. The characters are orphans, and that's their thing. But the thing about Olen is that she is hiding her magic, which also is a common trope. The dynamic of characters she interacts with is interesting. In the orphanage, she has a proprietress that takes in girls and trains them and raises them into young women that can then marry up in society. And she herself was someone who rose from poverty to being able to take care of other people. So already a good plus. She has a good role model. And she's hiding her magic and constantly avoiding chores to do different things and explore the sewers, which is a cool thing. I like when a character explores the world around them and does so in a believable way. Olen's magic is to change the nature of the fabric she is wearing, and she gets caught because instead of wearing the rags that she's supposed to, she's wearing fine silks. And the Inquisitor notices this, as does the older orphan girl. She does eventually figure out how to make into armor or into glowing cloth. So she's never in a position of power. She is in a position of knowledge at times, but she isn't more powerful than everyone else. Her magic, such as it exists, allows her to get a little bit of freedom, but not safely within the eyes of society. And her having magic at all is something that could cause her doom. She does also have a lot of interaction with the other girls in the orphanage. And there's one girl, Philippa is the name of the older orphan. And this is a part I don't like about the story at all. In the story, there is a young girl of about 15 years old, about to become an adult in this society. She's going to be 16 soon. And she has her eyes set on a guard captain that everyone else seems to have eyes for as well. And this older girl thinks that if she turns in Olen, then she might rise in this guard captain's favor. And this does allow her to do just that. And there's a couple other sets of circumstances, but this guard captain's like a decade older than her, and that's what I don't like about it, is that it is a precocious kind of love, but he also just doesn't think highly of women. He himself was an orphan. His dad was a hero, like a military hero, and his mother, once his dad died, ended up falling into a life of sin, and so he rose to become like his position in society as well, but looks down upon women because of that. And so he sees this orphan girl as something he can use, and she sees him as being more invested in the relationship than he really is. So the older girl's story is kind of interesting because she thinks that she is doing good in her society, reporting someone that has magic. But then as she learns this really quiet and small girl in the orphanage also has magic as well. And as she begins talking more to the other girls, the guard captain is very anti-magic. He is very inquisitor-like. And so the older girl is grappling with this relationship that she is growing to more and more dislike this older man, this guy a decade older than her. And she's grappling with those feelings while also learning that the sisters that she loves so much at this orphanage have all been hiding a similar secret. Several of them can do little magical things. And they've been hiding it because the society hates magic, and the society acknowledges its existence, but as something that should be destroyed. And so she has this love for her sisters in the orphanage, and she is starting to grow into regret for having turned in Olen, partially because she also learns more and more about Olen's punishment. And so there's these two really interesting female characters, one that has magic and has latched onto this big giant guy that lumbers into the story and is set to be re-imprisoned, and this girl who he is the first magical thing she has ever seen, and so she attaches herself to him. He helps her get away. She interacts with him, and they try to find freedom. The big guy specifically wants to throw himself into a volcano because he is immortal. He lives a long time, but also he can't die from physical harm. And so he wants to finally experience death. So like Olen's role in the dynamic is to try and convince him to enjoy life, whereas he needs some kind of anchor. He puts up with her and takes care of her as he is on his journey to end his life. So it's an interesting dynamic, and while this is happening, like I said, this older orphan girl is grappling with a terrible situation that she is wed to a guy, the guy in the kingdom that hunts magic, while also coming up from an orphanage where it seems all the girls have magic of their own. And at a certain point in the story, the proprietress, the mistress of the orphanage, ends up refusing to be intruded upon by the law and by this inquisitor. And so she ends up dying, and the older girl is now the oldest of the orphans at this orphanage. She has to take up a position of leadership and is also considering in her head the possibility that the proprietress, this mistress of the orphanage, knowingly took in magical girls, that she could be surrounded by all these magic users intentionally. And that's a really good dynamic. I think it explores, this book in its 400 pages explores both sides of society in a very good way, while also pushing the plot forward with the giant. And that's just something I think was done really well. I paid $20 for this book. I have the receipt actually. After, let's see, I had $2 of credit on this, so $18 for this book. Really good. I don't think I would read a second one, but I liked the content it provided, how they separate and how they come back together, and how the different sides of this conflict think of itself. So it sets up this older orphan girl to be a secondary antagonist, but then it evolves her from that secondary antagonist to secondary protagonist, a deuteragonist, which is just really well done. It is an interesting story, and I really like exploring the three main characters. The giant, there's not much to learn about him, but Olen and her counterpart, and like I said, the romance aspects of it involving Philippa and this guy a decade older than her, really gross. But I really prefer Philippa's story to Olen's, but merged and put together, it's a really good story. So, Ode, the Scion of Nerikan is a pretty good book. I paid, like I said, $18 for it, and I don't know, I'm probably going to put it back into the used book system, back to Coaz for credit, but I really appreciate the book that I got out of it. And I'm hoping that I find more books that intelligent and thoughtful. So, yeah, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another book rant.